What is up, everybody? It's your boy Nerdicane. It's New Comic Book Day, and I am doing a comic book review. This, Marvel Team Up number 5, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel. Two characters who have no reason to be together other than the name Marvel. Although, Captain Marvel used to be called Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, is now called Miss Marvel. So, the genius editors at Marvel said, you know what? These two characters are completely different, have completely different environments around them, and are from completely different worlds, but we're going to team them up as much as possible because of the name Marvel. This is like, imagine you played football in high school, okay? You played wide receiver as football in high school. You've moved on to the college, and then you moved on to the pros, but your coach says, hey, in the off season, you're gonna go, or when you work out, you're gonna work out with this guy who played your position back in high school. You have, other than that, you have really no connection. But that's what Marvel keeps doing with these characters. And I liked this book. I kind of recommend this because it hit all of the basic beats of a comic book. Now, in editing, this should have probably been 2 issues. They write for the trade, and this actually could have been 2 issues, and it could have been quite a bit better. But you see, I'll give credit where credit's due. When you get into who's editing this, that's where you say, okay, they don't give a damn, and they didn't see that this should have been 2 issues instead of just 1. We could have done more with this, we could have done more with that, and it would have made a better, more compelling story. But right off the bat, I'm going to skip a couple pages. For the copyright gods, there's some M&Ms. Take a look at some M&Ms. M&Ms, put them in your mouth. So they're using this to retcon Marvel's story. Marvel is, he's an old character. He was a sacrificial character. He sacrificed his life for the greater good. He was a really great character back in the day. He had a very meaningful, poignant death, and it stood. That's why they never really brought him back until this modern era of cash grab, of just easy money. In Marvel, that's when they brought him back, and it really had no meaning. He sacrificed himself again, but it didn't have the meaning that it did originally, because bringing him back was sort of AstroTurf. But they sort of, in the first couple pages, they retcon this to where Marvel and Carol Danvers were in a relationship. And right off the bat, Kamala's wants to hear more about that, that's a funny beat. That's a funny beat in the story. The writer, I really like the writer. He is kind of an old normie of comic books. Is McElroy, was Clint McElroy or McElroy? I don't know how they wants that pronounced, but if I pronounce it wrong, but I pronounce it both ways, so one of those ways is right. I apologize for pronouncing it wrong. He does a really good job with this, but this should have had more beats. Like this part where they're talking with Marvel, there's a little bit of Whedon speak, like right here, where they're talking about him being dead. This is the dude who apparently, in this retcon, Marvel took the persona of, took his name, and then assumed that he was dead. But I want to talk about the artist, Ig Guara. He is a Brazilian artist. There's some really good artists coming out of Brazil. I don't know what they're teaching people down there, but they're really good artists. I like his style. I like the way he drew this. Once again, Marvel's either not paying him enough or not giving him enough time, because there's a little too much miasma floating. There's a little too much high angle, so you don't have to show anything in the background. You just show the floor and the characters, and there's a lot of that in that. So I think either Marvel doesn't give people enough time, or they don't give people enough money to do it. But apparently somebody, Ig, didn't get the memo that we're drawing Captain Marvel as a man in 2019. And I could just imagine, how that conversation went. Somebody at Marvel's like, "Hey, Ig, we got the art that you sent in, and there's just a little problem. It's 2019, and we're drinking a lot of soy, and Captain Marvel, we're drawing Captain Marvel as a man." And you could probably just play the part of I don't understand English and just go, "Okay? Captain Marvel es hombre." Sí, Captain Marvel es hombre. No, Carol Danvers es. You know what? We don't have a translator here, so we're just gonna go with it, okay? And that, I imagine that's how that conversation went. But you know what? The dude's from Brazil. I don't think you get. I don't know why he drew such a flat butt being from Brazil, because those Brazilian girls, they eat bread, as DNC said in another one of his things, in another one of his videos. But you get in the situation. This dude is crazy. He keeps saying like he's from been trapped somewhere or what, but he keeps like talking like he's from the '60s and he hung out with Charles Manson. He starts like saying his rants and go, "This all's gonna go down, man. I'm gonna stab at the heart of the Kree, man." And you see in this, it's kind of cool because there's a conflict between Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers is the experienced veteran. She's letting this dude talk. She's letting him, she's just going about it, and she's letting him talk about what he's gonna do to kind of figure this out. Miss Marvel is, she's kind of young and idealistic about being a hero, and when she hears this dude talking about destroying the Kree Empire, she kind of pipes up and she says, "Hey, Captain Marvel is half Kree," and that causes, because she thinks that she's being hypocritical, and she's kind of like, "Oh, my young protege who I'm stuck with for some reason is kind of giving ratting me out in a situation." And it's kind of cool because they have, I'm going to skip a couple more pages. This is a buy. I would say go buy this. This is kind of fun. And it's kind of good to see, a story where there's not two Mary Sues and like Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, and they have conflict. They have, miscommunications because they're not really a team. But yeah, they get into the situation, but it gets weird because she flies off. She just drops her off. She goes to Jersey City and she picks up this teenager to go on adventures, and which is really, it's like that's like LeBron James going and picking up a high school basketball player and like, "Hey, we're gonna go work out, or we're gonna go play this game." It's still weird to me that Marvel has never really justified why they're together. They both have the name Miss Marvel at one point. She's Kree and she's an Inhuman, but it's like, what other reason other than you want to put them together do you have to put them together? Show us, don't tell us. Show us why they're together, why they partner up sometimes. Don't just tell us, But once again, we get to this point in this character, I forget his name. That's how insignificant and non-threatening and just meaningless that he is. This is the character who Miss Marvel crippled because she was running an illegal prison on the orders of Captain Marvel. So it's just, this kid would work better as a villain, it's as somebody who wants vengeance, because things that Miss Marvel did while he was trying to #resist caused him to be crippled. And just out of the blue, with no real resolution or with no real, coming together of the two characters, Captain Marvel shows back up and is like, "Hey, we're going on another adventure." And there's no resolution to the conflict that they had. An editor should have picked that up. An editor who was good at their job should have picked that up. And also, an editor who was good at their job should have said, "Hey, you can't have Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Shuri in the same panel, because that's a lot of fail in one panel. That could cause the book to just end. Just black panels for the rest of it, because it's just, these are three characters who nobody really likes, nobody's interested. These are three astroturfed characters that Marvel keeps pushing out onto the public. You can't put them together like that. They're like chemicals that just react badly together. You shouldn't put them. That's playing with fire. You should be more careful with that. Okay, you could destroy a company with that. But let's see what else I want. If there's anything else I want to skip. This should have had a bigger fight scene. The fight in this book is with this thing that looks like a sentinel, but it's not a sentinel. Apparently it's like a Kree something or other. I don't know what it is. I really don't care about the Kree. But you get, in this book, you talk about, like, you want the main character to be cool at some point in the book. Well, and do something awesome at some point in the book. You get one 2, 3 panels of a fight, and that's over. And one of these panels takes up a third of the page. So you are getting 3 panels of a fight this fight should have been longer. Once again, this is one of the tropes that you see when writers at Marvel tackle Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Shuri. You see the threat, and it's supposed to be a threat, but it's easily defeated. And there's always, there's once again, some of the other tropes that are in this is sprinkled in there is like there's pop culture references, and there's a little tiny bit of Whedon speak. There's no food. I was really surprised that they didn't stop to get a latte and a croissant. But yeah, there's no food in this. But this, you should have done more with this, and this fight probably should have ended the book, or you build to a climax where they beat this one and it's mildly difficult, but then when they get to the end of it, they realize, oh, there's 8 more standing around us, and that was just the first. That was the century that we bumped into, and it called a half dozen more to come. That's where it should have stopped, and then, but it actually stopped somewhere else. And this, once again, so it could have been. They do a little more talking with the imposter guy who used to be something, but not Captain Marvel, and it's just confusing, unnecessary retconning of things. But even with that, even with the bad editing, they should have stretched it out more, and they should have done something a little cooler with the fight. It's not a bad story. It's actually pretty well done. I mean, it's. I almost said that this was as good as it is bad, but it's actually, when I step back and take a look at it, it's actually better. It shows that these characters can be viable if you write them to be human. If you write them to have conflict and disagreement, and even you highlight the difference in their experience levels as superheroes. That's where you get interesting parts of the characters. This cover, actually, I want to take a second to talk about this cover. It was done by Anna Rudd and Eduardo Petrovich. Look at that. That's a really good cover. That cover says "Buy Me." It's actually good looking. I don't know who decided to do the change up with adding these blue accents to Captain Marvel's costume, but that's actually it adds a good pop to it. I listened to a podcast where Sana Amanat and Kelly Sue DeConnick, or whoever created this Captain Marvel, this retconning of Captain Marvel, brought in a fashion designer to design the costume when it's just completely unnecessary. You get the people artists at Marvel Comics who draw these characters all the time. You draw it, it's produced from your hand. You sort of know what's cool and what's iconic. You get them instead of a fashion designer to come in, and I can almost guarantee these blue accents, these blue pops, were suggested by an artist, because it just contrasts really well with the rest of the other blue, the darker blue, and all these other colors. But that's a good look. That's a much better look than what they've been doing it, and it adds a little bit of the design for her heritage, for her Pakistani heritage, I guess. But I think it all works. I think it's a very good look, and they carried it through the comic as well. But you know what? I enjoyed reading this, and it was really strange. I kind of took a chance on buying this. I thought I was going to get some cringe out of it, but Clint McElroy, I'm not sure how that's said, wrote a good comic. Go out and buy this. This has actually been an interesting story. I'm going to probably pick up it. It made me want to pick up the other one, and that's the next one. And that's what a writer is supposed to do at Marvel. And that's all I got for this one. I'm closing on 15 minutes. I don't want to go over 15 minutes. I can't believe I got 15 minutes out of this. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Go buy this. This is actually a pretty cool little story. It's New Comic Book Day. Go out and find something you love, and have a good day. Bye.